Hey everyone, Razbevsky here, and welcome back to some more Five Nights at Freddy's 3 information and speculation. Today, everybody, we're going to be talking about why Five Nights at Freddy's 3 might only have one animatronic and why this is. Now, if you have a little bit of a think about it, 30 years is a very long time. And what happens in 30 years? What happens in time in general? Things begin to degrade. Degrade to the point that they could no longer work. Now, this is the basis of my theory. The whole premise around it is time is of aging. And if you think about it, what happens to metal over time? What happens to anything over time, especially metal? Well, it begins to fall apart. It begins to get worn. It begins to no longer work as intended. And potentially, this is why SpringTrap is the only animatronic in the game. Now, let's go back to the start. Let's go back to the very start. If we're talking about the rumored timeline, Fredbear's was in roughly 1973. Let's say the animatronics were first built then. That is a very long time to potentially when Five Nights at Freddy's 3 is, which is roughly about 2023. We're talking about a massive span there, potentially 50 years, and metal over 50 years, if it is not treated, if it's not maintained properly, if it is overused, then it will fall apart and rust, potentially ruining any endoskeletons that are around, hence why SpringTrap might not be in the game. So, if we look at guaranteed facts here, if we look at guaranteed timeline issues, we don't know if Fredbear's Diner actually had animatronics. Maybe they didn't get them later on. Fredbear's could have been the very first establishment, and there might have just been people in costumes before they sprang out the big bucks on the metal endoskeleton. So, if we have a look at 1987. 1987 is potentially 30 to 36 years the animatronics have been running by the time we get to Five Nights at Freddy's 3. That is a long time. And if we have a look at the timeline from when they potentially stopped getting used, that was 1993. So we're talking about 20 to 30 years of nobody looking after these endoskeletons. Nobody's oiling them, nobody's maintaining them, nobody's cleaning them. They're going to get rusty, they're going to get horrible, and potentially, if you have a look at the surrounding pictures in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, that place looks terrible. It looks water damaged, it looks damp. The endoskeletons would be destroyed unless they properly stored them away. I don't know about that. That is the one thing that I'm thinking about. If they stored them away properly, then maybe they could have survived. But this company has been falling apart. They couldn't find a buyer for the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, so the place just shut down at the end of Five Nights at Freddy's 1. They might have sold them off bit by bit. They might have sold all the endoskeletons to another company. They might have just dumped them. SpringTrap looks pretty dumped to me. If you have a look at SpringTrap, he's already worn out. He doesn't look very well maintained. He doesn't look like he can move properly. I don't know how it's going to happen in the game, but there's a lot of work here. If you have a look at the toy animatronics, there's no endoskeletons there. You kind of see one potentially in Mangle in Foxy's arms, but the rest of them, no. There's no endoskeletons there. They've gone. They're no longer there. We need to know what's in the other rooms. There might be an endoskeleton room, but if we're talking about rough scientific facts, I don't know what endoskeletons are made out of. I tried researching it, but I didn't come up with anything that would work. I mean, if you're talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, it looked like you had Bonnie and Chica and Foxy and Freddy, the withered versions of them. They came from a previous restaurant. We know that. So that could have been the restaurant in between Fredbear's and Five Nights at Freddy's 2. They didn't have a lot of money then. They've been totally, they don't have the money, they've been closed down, so they probably bought very cheap versions, prototype versions of the endoskeleton. So they're probably going to be quite expensive, but not the best metal. Now, this is when, over time, the stuff starts to rust, it starts to degrade, and potentially all of them are useless. If these endoskeletons don't no longer work, then maybe that's why we only have SpringTrap. That's just my thinking. Rusted, degraded, misuse, and no maintenance. Over time, these endoskeletons would be completely useless and probably scrapped. If the company was struggling for money in the first place, they might have just scrapped them and got the scrap metal value for it. I don't know. You've got to do everything you can when your business goes out, if it liquidates or whatever. It's just another theory. It's just another theory as to why there's only one animatronic in the game. As to why SpringTrap's in there, Not really sure yet. Not really sure. Maybe they kept him stored away separately because we've not seen this guy yet. Or potentially he has just been fixed together with the parts that are still working and they could only create one animatronic out of the spare parts. It's just another theory. It's just pretty interesting. I've been thinking about why there is only going to be one animatronic in the game, and it just comes down to just ill maintenance. If the robots no longer work, then you can't have supernatural beings come out of them. But then again, Scott is probably going to throw something else at our faces. Anyway, guys, let me know down in the comment section below what you think of this. And if you've got any more theories of your own, pop them down in the comment section as well. Drop a like if you enjoyed today's video, guys. I've been Razbowski. You've been the beautiful bastards, as always, for watching. And I love each and every single one of you. Goodbye!